Hello, Ian O'Brien here, and welcome to this week's guitar Q&A for Guitar Learning Questions, my totally free Facebook group. Now, this week's question comes from a guy called Jason. He's got a really beautiful reason for learning to play the guitar, for taking it up, and that's to keep the memory alive of his father, who used to play guitar and passed away last year. So, if I could do anything to help you, Jason, I will. And here's the answer to your first question, which is Jason's having trouble with the open strings when he's playing chords, as he keeps catching them with his fingers. Now, this is a common problem. Let's just press that. This is a common problem, and I'll show you kind of how to get around it. Okay, so when a lot of people begin playing chords, what they find is occasionally a string, a finger above, or from the string next door will be blocking the string next door, or the string below or above. And it often happens with open strings because open strings are a little bit further away from the fretboard than the other strings you're holding down. Obviously, holding them down pushes them closer. It's easier to get out of the way of them. Open strings are trickier because they stand up more. Now, I'll show you with a few different chords as we go through, but more or less there's the same solution for all of them, and that is, I'm going to kind of make an analogy here with ballet. It's going to sound a bit crazy. I don't really know anything about ballet. It's not something I've ever done, but I've seen it before, and it's enough to kind of help. Okay, so what we're aiming for, if you've ever seen a ballet dancer, a classic move is that they don't just stand with their feet flat on the ground. They do something called on point, which is where they actually raise up onto their tiptoes, okay, and walk on their tiptoes, and sort of a really, tricky thing to do or whatever. You need special shoes and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. They're absolutely standing on the toes of their feet, okay, on their toes. Everyone's toes are on their feet, okay, and that kind of analogy is exactly what we want to do with our fingers when we're playing chords, in order to get out of the way of the open strings, okay? So we don't want our fingers to be kind of laying down. We want them to be actually standing up, okay? On the tips of the fingers, kind of perpendicular to the string. So not across the string, but upright, okay, as much as we can. So it's sort of playing with your fingers on point, or another way of looking at it is them being perpendicular to the strings, okay? So if your fingers are ever laying down, move this really close so you can get a close-up. My fingers are a bit laying down now. I'm blocking that open G string with my second finger here. Okay, it's buzzing, it doesn't sound good at all. Strum that string, there's some bits missing, there's some bits kind of buzzing, it's not cool, and it's what we want to move away from. Okay, to help tidy that up and to let this open string ring free and not catch it with our finger, is to do this on point thing where we actually are moving my wrist forward a bit so that my fingers can be on the very tips of them. Okay, I don't know if you can see this better from this kind of angle. I can be bent over like that, not on the tips, or I can be very much on the tips of my fingers like that. Okay, so that's with just your standard C chord. The same thing applies with the Django set of chords, which are easier to get playing in the beginning. I'm blocking the G string with this finger here. I bring my fingers onto the tips of them, and it rings free, because obviously they're more slender if they're perpendicular to the strings and will allow the other ones through. Now, this isn't about the size of your fingers. If anyone feels like their fingers are too big or sausage-like or anything to play guitar, that is absolutely not the case. Probably the best guitarist who's ever lived. I know that's a difficult thing to say, but I'm serious. Very, very highly regarded. It's a classical guitar player called Segovia, a Spanish guy. And he was mind-blowing. The only people that are as good as him are his students who are around now. People who were sort of popular in the 70s, like maybe John Williams, Julian Bream, those kind of people. Not the Star Wars film composer John Williams, but there's a classical guitar player called John Williams. Incredible player. Students of Segovia are the only people who came close to him. But have a look, you'll see them on YouTube if you want to Google around or whatever. Have a look at Segovia's fingers. They're ginormous sausage fingers, and he can play beautifully and gracefully, or he could. And so it's not about the size of your fingers, it's about the angle that you get into them. It's about being perpendicular to the strings and being kind of on point. You'll see, rather than leaning over a bit, you want to be on point with your fingers and develop the habit of landing your chords in that position. Here's a couple with the Django chords. So I'm blocking the G string now, I stand up straight, and I'm not blocking the G string. Okay, so same thing With the G chord itself, blocking the D. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit here, but it happens to everyone. I'm blocking the D, I stand up straight, and the D is released. Okay, so if you want to get into a position where you can be kind of on point or perpendicular to the strings because you're blocking some open ones, then bring your hand really close to the neck. Now, it doesn't have to be touching it, definitely not holding or supporting the guitar. That's not going to help us. But relatively close to the neck of the guitar, not holding it, but you can be touching it, or you can be just gently kind of brushing it close to it, and then bring your fingers over. That's going to help you get really straight on and sort of perpendicular to the strings, okay, as if you're on point, so that those open strings, and actually not just open strings, other strings you may be fretting, you might be plucking as well. That's going to help you get them sounding and ringing clear, okay. So let me think of another couple of examples. Here's one where you've got the open string on top, so classic kind of cowboy chord. A lot of people begin with chords like this, the A, whether you do it this way, you do it this way. The A, where you've got the 3 string notes in a row, you might be blocking, or if you do the Django A as well, you might be blocking or buzzing the A string itself. It's ringing about against my nails. It sounds horrible. Okay, well, maybe like a bit sitar-like or something, but if it's not the sound we're going for, which usually we aren't, we don't want that, we want to correct it. Okay, and the way to do that is to stop that finger laying down where it takes up more space to get it perpendicular to the strings, yeah, straight on, kind of, as I'd say, like an on-point kind of thing. So think about a ballerina. Their feet aren't flat on the ground, they're up on the very tips of their toes, and I think it's a really hard thing to do. I have no idea, I don't want to try it. So that's what we're aiming for with our fingers, okay? They're not laying down, they're not bending over, it's really the tips of them. It allows your fingers to be the most slender they can be, and the most kind of, to get out of the way of the other strings. Anyway, so that is Guitar Learning Questions Q&A for this week, the question for this week. If you're watching this video anywhere else, welcome. My name's Ian O'Brien. This is an answer to somebody's guitar learning question they posted in my completely free Facebook group called Guitar Learning Questions. That's why I keep saying that phrase. So if you want to come along and you want to have your own questions answered in the same manner, just search on Facebook Guitar Learning Questions, ask to join. I'll let you straight in, and you can. We've got a really strong community going on and a strong group. We help each other kind of through what we're learning and stuff, and I'll send you different resources, that kind of stuff. And if you have any questions, ask them, and once a week I'll make a video for members of the group to answer your questions, or post you to previous ones, because often people have, similar kind of problems that come up. Blah blah blah. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling about that. Have a really good day. I hope this has been helpful, and come and join Guitar Learning Questions.